Hi, I'm Mike Brauer. These have been part of my career for many, many, many years. And they're now belong to Alto. And like anything, there's transitions. I remember when I was first deciding that mixing to half-inch tape was just too inefficient because of the recalls and all the other things that were going on at the time. And I thought, okay, well, how can I still get that sound? And since I'd grown up hearing tape, I was able to just continue mixing and just know that that's the sound. And I would make little changes because now it wasn't going to tape. So I had to make that sound before going to tape. That transition worked out fine. Then, and of course, going to Pro Tools from 24 track or 48 track, learning that sound. It went from beautiful, lush, full bandwidth to a situation now where when Pro Tools first came out, there was a ceiling on the sound. It wasn't big and beautiful and rich. And now, of course, there's no limitations. The sound is fantastic. And of course, same thing with the GUIs, you know, the software, the plugin, it would look like a Pultec, but it didn't sound like a Pultec. And you know, so I didn't want to use any of those in the beginning. It was strictly, I've got my analog gear, I'll use Pro Tools as a tape machine. And now, well, then I was at Electric Lady for many years. And then after 9 or 10 years, when I made my move, I decided that analog desk was just not the way to go, that I really needed to find something to replace that desk and go with a control surface. So of course I did it very, very slow. Very slow. I mean, I spent almost 2 years learning how to find my sweet spot without the analog desk. And it took a lot of patience on my assistants with me and learning how to set up a new template. But in time, because I was still working on my analog desk, I could always go back to my SSL and be happy and not worry. And then slowly I learned the hybrid. And I thought, okay, well, that's as far as I'm going to go. I'm going to stay hybrid. I've replaced the desk. It actually sounds even better now. It sounds great to me because my whole approach with the ABCD is that sound is happening before the desk. So once I removed the desk, I still had my sound. And the sound of the SSL, I was able to get by putting in SSL plugins. I thought, well, that's it. I mean, I'll never go to in the box. But in the meantime, I was still learning, just in case, how to be in the box. And we slowly set up my whole template, the whole Brauerized thing in the template slowly. And I didn't take it very seriously, just like I didn't take going hybrid very seriously in the beginning. And then, you know, but over the past couple of years, I mean, I've been using it, but, you know, not really tweaking it. It would sound okay. Then the pandemic hit, and I was forced to really consider doing what? Stop working at all or move some of the rig up to my house. And that's what I chose. So I took everything that had to do with just being able to mix in the box, and I took it up to the house. And after 2.5 months, I'd been tweaking to the point I'm like, wow, this sounds really good. At the end of the day, it's about the pilot. It's about the person flying the plane. You know, it's not always about the gear. Gear helps. Good gear helps. But, you know, here I am. I was at a crossroads that I was thinking, what am I doing? I have, you know, 5 tons of gear, and I'm attached to it. And if I want to go to another place, it's there. And I was like, do I need it anymore? I mean, I've been mixing for 2.5 months, and I'm hearing no complaints from artists and clients and producers. So I was like, maybe this is the time. Maybe, you know, pandemic, the silver lining to really think about changes. And every change has to be better. There's no compromising. There never has been compromising. I never even considered any hybrid till the day, and nothing came out that was, you know, it was just playing around and testing, you know, free mixes and stuff. The day that I thought, wow, this is not only good, but this could even be better, that's when I made the change. And over the past 2.5 months, I came to that same conclusion. So fortunately, I have a great friend, John Haber from Alto, who had purchased a lot of my gear when I moved from Electric Lady to the place in Chelsea. And it was like a doubling up of a lot of gear. He got it all. And then I said to him, one day I called him, I said, John, I'm telling you, I don't know how to say this, but I'm really happy with the way I am. And then I called a few friends of mine that have been in the box for years, like Dave Siddick and Andrew Sheps and, you know, Nico Bolas and, you know, I was running it by them and they said, no, just go for it. It'll be okay. And so here we are. I ended up with just one rack, actually 2 racks. One rack is for, you know, all the print rig with my computer and my Antelope and, you know, all this stuff just for printing. And then the second one is the one I'm holding on to with the anchors. The Awa Green, there's only one of. The Awa Gray that was modified. The Presto, the Federal that was, you know, basically the trigger for so many other people wanting the Federals, but this one is so modified. It's an unbelievable sound. So I've kept some of that. I've kept a couple of the reverbs that have my special patches that I used to use on Coldplay and stuff. So I'm going to hold on to those for a while longer and still, you know, use that for vocal sounds or other things like that. But I'm going to print them right away. It's not, you know, it's not going to be any more of having to take an hour and a half. What used to be 3 hours to do all the stems got cut down to an hour and a half, and now it's going to be hit a button. So here we are. So there's a lot of history behind me. So let's get started. This is a very interesting rack. This is actually my ABCD rack, my multi-bus rack. And we'll start with A. This was the first piece of gear that I acquired. This is a 33609. That was the first one. And it was later modified to improve the sound by, I think I had Alan Smart go in there and work it so that there's more transformers, or there's something in there that made it even more lush. But this one is so special because this is the one with the steel knob. I mean, again, this was the first generation, and it's, I've never heard anything else like it. It's just really just, it's just a sweet, rich, silky sound. It's really beautiful. And I'll show you on the back, but out of these, this is how I first mixed for my first 10 years before things changed and I had to kind of come up with a different approach, a much more complicated one that one likes to call wacky. And those would be the Pultecs. So I have 2 Pultecs in the back that are in pristine condition. And one of them I think has media sound still etched on it. And those were, all of these racks you can see were built by Vince Gutman, or Mark Audio. And he built and wired all of these. It's unbelievable work. And which means that it was in such great condition that I've never had any problems with them. And I've shipped these over to Europe back when people liked to do that. But the Pultecs in the back are unbelievable. They also, the sockets were replaced with ceramic, heat-resistant ceramic sockets so that the tubes go in and there isn't overheating or anything. And the tubes themselves are Telefunken platinum matched, crazy good. Then we go to B. These are the two distressors. When I first heard these, I don't think there were many at all in New York, and I was like, this is it. I mean, after many, many years, there had been nothing that had come out until these distressors, right? You had the LA3As, the LA2As, 1176s, you know, if you could get hold of a Roger Mayer, which I still have, and, you know, and then the 670s, but our studio didn't have 670s. Most of the studios in England and a few others, but that was a real luxury. And then the distressor comes out, and it was a musician's compressor. It was a real mixer's compressor. And I loved it. And I called him up. I go, hey, I'm Michael, you know, can I meet you? And he goes, oh, yeah, okay. I said, where do you live? He gave me the address. And I got my car and I drove and we talked. And we just got to be really good friends. And of course, I'd been playing with him for a while. And I said, you know what'd be really cool, man? You know, like on 1176s, when you put all the buttons in, they call it the British mode. I learned that from some British engineers bringing that in, you know, and I thought that was so cool. You think you could do that? Well, eventually he did that. And these are the ones right here. Well, no, that's a stereo. That's the British mode right here. So you pop these in. So I think the serial numbers here have to be super, super low because they were like, you know, the originals. And then I think there's two more. There's two more here. And this one's got the mod and this one doesn't, because this one I think was a spare. This one I used to use on nuke, the nuke, total nuke position for part of my vocal sound.